You guys are familiar with the concept of OS-tan, right? Japanese people will turn anything into a mascot, especially a cute female mascot. And around the turn of the millennium, Windows ME's unstable nature made some Japanese artists think of it as a troubled, clumsy little girl, and ME-tan was born. This led to many other versions of Windows receiving characters, which were popular for a time. So much so that the Japanese versions of Windows since Windows 7 have official mascots. Anyway, there is a popular video game engine known as Unity, which powers many popular mobile and PC games in addition to other kinds of 3D and VR applications. The Japanese division of the Unity company decided that the software needed a mascot character, and in the December of 2013, Unity-chan was introduced. Unity-chan, named Otori Kohaku, was designed by the artist NTNY to be an energetic, fun girl, the kind that would encourage people to make great games. Her original design was cute, but it didn't stand out enough, so NTNY went back to the drawing board. He gave the new design for Unity-chan a color scheme based on a harbor, with the browns and oranges representing the docks, and of course the blues representing the ocean. She also really loves croquettes, which are like giant chicken nuggets, I think. Purportedly, NTNY's favorite part of Unity-chan's design is the fact that she wears a school swimsuit under her clothes. Apparently, she wears it because she's so active, she's likely to jump into water and get wet, being a gaming-related character and all. She won't look weird when she's wet if she's wearing a swimsuit, right? Well, that might be the story, but it was probably just Mr. NTNY's personal preferences translating into his artwork. Even one of the other members of Unity Japan suggested as much, while also saying that her girls' school swimsuit was, for better or worse, the element of her design that best represented Japan. Oh, Japan, what are we going to do with you? Unity-chan isn't just a mascot for the sake of it, though. She was designed to help people make games, too. Her very high-quality model is available for free for anyone to use in their Unity projects as a test model. So, how does this connect with Vocaloid? Well, Unity-chan was obviously created to appeal to Japanese game developers, young people who would be hip to popular culture. So Unity Japan and Yamaha formed a partnership in 2015 to bring the Unity game engine and the Vocaloid synthesizer engine together. One of the results of that partnership was the release of Unity-chan as a Vocaloid, her voice banks developed by Unity Technology Japan itself, with some help from Yamaha. I say voice banks as plural, but she does not have any appends. This is something quite new and unique. A fair warning, this video will run long because there is so much to talk about. Unity-chan is a very interesting character and one of the most interesting Vocaloid releases. A special edition of Unity-chan's voice bank was sold in limited quantities at Comiket 89 at the end of December of 2015, but her voice bank did not become available to everyone until January 14th, so she is considered the first Vocaloid release of 2016. So, about her voice banks. First, let's cover her normal Vocaloid 4 voice bank. Unity-chan is voiced by voice actress Kakumoto Asuka, who acts as Unity-chan in your typical voice acting role, as well as being her Vocaloid voice provider. She is a rather young voice actress. I think she got her start in 2013. Aside from Unity-chan, her most noteworthy role is likely that as voice actress and singer of Shimabara Elena of the Idolmaster Million Live. I've only watched the original Idolmaster series, and I haven't played any of the games, so I don't know how well she's done in that role. If you want to know more about that, you can go ask Circus P. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk about her. As for Kohaku, she was a mascot for about 2 years before becoming a Vocaloid, and in that time, Ms. Kakumoto provided an excellent voice for her. It's cute, it's vibrant, it's spunky. But until she began recording her Vocaloid voice banks, she had never sung as the character, so it took her a little while to get comfortably into character as a singer. The developers focused on creating a voice that reflected Unity-chan as a character, rather than a voice that suited a particular kind of music. And as you'd expect when you hear something like that, Unity-chan's voice is indeed designed primarily for pop and related genres, or at least that's what it's best suited for. I know a lot of you are tired of new female Japanese Vocaloids that toe the safe line of pop, rock, and electronic music styles. I don't mind it so much as long as the voice bank is of good quality, which Unity-chan's is despite what you might have heard. It's crisp and it has a lot of personality, and as long as the voice bank brings something new and unique to the franchise. That brings me to the most pivotal point for those who are considering purchasing her voice bank. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and I'm assuming the exchange rate on music clips ain't bad either, so just take a quick listen to this. If you're thinking to yourself, hey, that sounds kind of like Rana, then you've hit the nail right on the head. Similar to the situation with Chika and Gumi, Unity-chan's voice has its unique attributes that strive to shine through, and you can catch glimpses of them in certain songs, but her voice shares qualities with Rana that are impossible to ignore. If you take the time to really listen to her, Unity-chan's voice seems somehow more mature and sweeter than Rana's at the same time. It's hard to explain. While the two basically share the same recommended vocal range, Unity-chan has a significantly larger and higher tempo range. So don't pass her up just because she sounds a lot like Rana. She can do her own thing. The reason Unity-chan sounds so much like Rana is because that's the kind of voice Miss Kakumoto chose for Unity-chan's singing voice. Unity-chan is a voice-acted vocal, and if you listen to Miss Kakumoto sing in character, such as in her character song Unite in the Sky, you can definitely hear the similarities with Rana, and translating her voice to the Vocaloid engine only made those similarities more pronounced. The Vocaloid synthesizer doesn't necessarily replicate the singer's tone exactly, and it seems to affect certain voice types more than others. Now that I've shown some Candy Rockstar performance footage, where do I go from here? Gosh, there's still so much to talk about. I guess we'll talk a bit more about Unity-chan's history and development for now, but don't worry, we'll come back to that footage again later. Keep in mind that a lot of the information to follow in this section contains my interpretations of Google Translated interviews. I hate to depend on machine translations, but I think in this case it provides us some good insight to an interesting process. Just keep in mind that it may not be entirely accurate. So, in an interview, the director of Unity Japan seems to imply that the company was already considering the possibility that Unity-chan might one day become a Vocaloid when it was selecting a voice actress for her. Miss Kakumoto's inexperience was one of the reasons she was selected, as a more seasoned voice actress and singer would not only have been significantly more expensive to turn into a Vocaloid, they would already have an established history of characters and fan expectations for their voice. Unity Japan wanted a fresh and unknown voice, something people wouldn't have any preconceptions about. They actually spent a lot of time considering how to handle the transition from a simple mascot character to a Vocaloid, because of course the people there were and are big Vocaloid fans. I believe NTNY said that he picked up Hatsune Miku on the day she released. The director also said that Unity-chan's Vocaloid collaboration has been her biggest project so far. In an interview with Ms. Kakumoto, she explains that Unity-chan's voice bank was recorded over 4 days in the July of 2015, with 3 test recordings and then at least 1 proper one. Since it was her first time attempting to sing as Unity-chan, it took her a little while to find the right voice, and she basically had to stay in Unity-chan mode for the duration to stay consistent. She had never felt pressured to maintain a character's voice for so long, and she could not practice the voice too often when outside of the studio for fears that she would wear her voice out. But by the end, she and the developers were very happy with her performance. And when I say developers, I don't just mean people from Unity Technology Japan. There were consultants and techs from Yamaha present as well. The interviews feature a lot of questions to several developers from Yamaha, but I don't know how their names are pronounced, so I'm afraid I can't give them any names since I don't want to rely on the machine translations. I will say that this man in particular has been working on the Vocaloid project since the days of Project Daisy, the turn of the millennium, so it's hard to find someone more experienced than him. Anyway, Yamaha guy says that typically in a voice bank recording, the singer stands very still. But Ms. Kakumoto was much more experienced being directed as a voice actress than as a singer. And when voice acting, she would often receive specific directions on how to accentuate the voice, such as give special attention to the people in the front row of the audience, or reach out to the people in the very back. It was this kind of lively, dynamic voice that was desired for Unity-chan, but as you can imagine, it would be difficult to imbue half-second-long phonemes with that kind of quality. So what Ms. Kakumoto did during her voice bank recordings was to be very active herself. She would dance in place, or swing her arms around, or bounce up and down, to really get into character while doing their recordings. Normally this would be discouraged because the sounds from those movements can be picked up by the microphone, and Yamaha guy admits that some of those sounds did get recorded. But they let it slide because they felt that this was the best way to really bring Unity-chan's voice bank to life. Part of this was also a matter of timing. The developer explains that during the Vocaloid 3 era, when developing voice banks, he was encouraged to achieve a very consistent output for the voices, to make them fit very nicely with music, and to edit the voice banks such that the various parameters in Vocaloid, gender factor and such, would have predictable effects. But when the Vocaloid 4 engine debuted, that development ideal changed to where he was now encouraged to make the voices expressive and full of personality. So potentially less consistent, but more interesting. I'll let you guys discuss whether this has been achieved. Some other points brought up in that interview state that Unity Japan wants Ms. Kakumoto to continue to voice Unity-chan for as long as they can keep the project going. They understand that Ms. Kakumoto's voice may change over time, and they're okay with that. If her voice changes, then that will be interpreted as Unity-chan's voice changing as well, as an evolving thing. When asked about the idea of recording the voice bank again in the future, both Ms. Kakumoto and one of the Yamaha developers said that they would like to re-record Unity-chan's Vocaloid voice bank if possible in 5 years' time, so 2020. To express those changes and to use their accumulated experience to make the voice bank even more realistic. In an interview with Ishikawa Katsumi, the big boss of Vocaloid development at Yamaha, he explains that the genesis of the partnership with Unity Japan was the Candy Rockstar performance video, which was uploaded in the August of 2014. Mr. Ishikawa saw the video and was really impressed with Unity-chan as a character and how cool it was to see how Unity was using its game engine technology to create this very complex concert scene, how well it handled the model and motion capture and all that stuff. But Mr. Ishikawa thought to himself, they've gone this far with the technology, but can't we push it further? So he had people at Yamaha look into making a sort of Vocaloid engine plugin for the Unity game engine to make a cover of Unite in the Sky with a generic voice bank, before ever even approaching Unity Japan. That Candy Rockstar performance just really got their creativity and passion going, so they played around with it. It was only after they had some success in their research that they finally contacted Unity Japan and discussed a potential partnership. I think they had their discussion around the June of 2015, and by the next month, Unity-chan's Vocaloid voice banks were already being recorded. Let's take a small intermission from discussing her Vocaloid voice bank to talk a little bit more about Unity-chan, the mascot. Unity-chan was introduced at Comiket 85 in the December of 2013 as a character to promote the Unity game engine in Japan. There are other characters related to Unity-chan, but I really don't know much about them. Because of her cute character design, and because high-quality materials of her character, like character models, voice clips, and animations, were provided for free or inexpensively, Unity-chan became popular fairly quickly in Japan among certain groups. The Unity engine is best known for being used to make traditional 2D and 3D games, like platformers, first-person shooters, and RPGs, but it is capable of a lot more. You can develop myriad other applications for it, making use of augmented reality, mixed reality, and virtual reality content. There are a bunch of videos out there that demonstrate projects that enlist Unity-chan's help, from simple games to the recent VR craze, and some of them are really impressive even though they're just tech demos. There was even an Oculus Rift DK2 demo that lets you go on a virtual date with Unity-chan and rest your head on her lap. Many of these demonstrations use assets from the Candy Rockstar performance, so if you decide to look into Unity-chan yourself, expect to hear Unite in the Sky about 100 times. The reason for this is that the performance's assets are available as a free download, and Unity has a free license option, so anyone can grab the files and tinker with them. Luckily, the song is great, so you won't mind hearing it over and over. I've even seen the assets used for promotional material for Unity-compatible products from companies outside of Japan, though I do have to wonder if that complies with Unity-chan's licensing agreement. Let me show you a few of these tech demos to show what people have been using Unity-chan to test. Alright, let's get back to talking about singing robots. So, I said that Unity-chan has more than one voice bank, and she does, but it's not what you'd expect. As I said earlier, Yamaha looked into getting the Vocaloid engine to work with the Unity engine, and they had some success, which led to their partnership. One of the results of that was Unity-chan's Vocaloid voice bank, and the other was Unity with Vocaloid, which makes use of the Vocaloid software development kit for Unity. Put simply, this inserts the Vocaloid synthesizer engine into the Unity game engine, so that the Vocaloid engine's functions can be accessed through Unity applications. Now, why on earth would you want to do that? I'm not a developer, so I can't imagine all of the possibilities, but I can give you one. Imagine you're an indie game dev, and you want to make a simple puzzle game that also contains Vocaloid songs. Let's say you have Miku singing in the background as the player tries to solve some sort of puzzle, and if the player does everything right, the song plays normally. But if the player makes a mistake, Miku's singing changes. Maybe she begins to sing off pitch, right? Changing the pitch of the song would not be difficult at all. You wouldn't need access to the Vocaloid synthesizer engine to do that. Any audio manipulation library will have a pitch adjustment function. But what if, instead of changing the pitch of Miku's voice, you wanted players' mistakes to change the gender factor of her voice, or even to dynamically add incorrect lyrics into her singing? You would need an API for the Vocaloid engine within Unity to do something like that, and that's what the Vocaloid SDK for Unity lets developers do. Unity-chan's other voice bank is the default voice bank for the Vocaloid SDK for Unity. If you download the Vocaloid SDK for Unity, it comes with a copy of Unity-chan's voice bank, and all of the program's functions will output with her voice by default. It's also 100% free for non-commercial use. So yeah, there is a free version of Unity-chan's Vocaloid voice bank available. But, and you knew this was coming, it's not the same as her Vocaloid 4 voice bank. Some of you may faintly remember Masaoka Azuki and Kobayashi Matcha. Those two were featured in a game series known as Project 575, which used the Vocaloid 2 engine to power the characters' voices. Though they are technically Vocaloids, their voice banks were not designed to be used outside of the video games. That's basically what Unity-chan's Unity with Vocaloid voice bank is like. It's actually a Vocaloid 2 voice bank, so admittedly it doesn't have the same quality as Unity-chan's Vocaloid 4 voice bank. But people can still make music with it, right? Well, yes, you can, but it's not the easiest or most convenient thing to do. And if you're thinking of downloading it to give it a try, let me warn you. The Vocaloid SDK is just that, a software development kit. It's a programming API for developers. It is not for people like you and me. There is no piano roll and there is no GUI. It is a framework for creating your own applications and game objects that interact with the Vocaloid synthesizer. And all of the documentation is in Japanese. You can feed VSQs to it and Unity-chan will sing them for you, though I couldn't figure out how to make it do that. But you can't just download it, start it up, and make or edit VSQs with it. So don't think of it as a music-making tool unless you're a musically inclined programmer. But if you're still curious and you have an afternoon to spare, then feel free to check it out. I will link to the Unity with Vocaloid page in the video description, but you will need to download and register for a free license with Unity before you can install the SDK and sample projects. I'll show a couple of examples of Unity-chan's Unity with Vocaloid voice bank in action in the song demonstrations, but here's a quick preview. This was an early alpha demo of her Unity voice bank singing Unite in the Sky, and when it was first shared, a lot of people thought that this was indicative of the quality we could expect out of her Vocaloid voice bank. It's absolutely not. It was a demonstration of the Vocaloid SDK and how voice banks could be manipulated in real time, not of the voice bank itself. Wait for the song demonstrations to get an idea of what the voice bank can really sound like when using a properly tuned VSQ.
としてない嬉し恥ずかしとだらしない今して一歩通行難しいて完璧超人じゃないしけるかっこ悪いなんてことはない戦闘でダッシュ自由ダッシュはメイジンのインスピレーションラストーリーチェリーゆくいたんだよあ運命を君に会いたいさいださいだゆびるのからだ
In another interview, Mr. Ishikawa and some other Yamaha developers explain that they are definitely interested in creating a version of the Vocaloid SDK for other languages, specifically English. However, ideally they would want a native English speaker to record for the voice bank. That would require finding a native English-speaking voice actress who can sing in a tone that closely mimicked Unity-chan's voice. Not an easy task, especially since voice acting, especially for singing as a character, is not as big of an industry in places like the US compared to Japan. Plus, the concept of Vocaloid is still foreign to most English speakers, which creates an intellectual barrier. So as much as they would like to create an English version of the SDK, there are tough decisions that will have to be made. I infer from their responses that they still want Unity-chan to be the first voice bank in whatever new languages they decide to create the SDK for. So it seems like creating, say, a CyberDiva Vocaloid SDK for English would be undesirable, even though that would be much easier than trying to find a new voice provider for the English voice bank. In a very brief interview with the producer of Unity-chan's Vocaloid demo songs, he talks about his experiences creating the 3 songs. Unity-chan technically only received 2 demo songs, and they were shared with us on a single crossfade video. So we didn't get to hear the complete versions of the songs, just short clips. Even though I'm making this video well over a year since Unity-chan was released, the completed versions of these songs have still not been posted as far as I can tell. I've read that there was a CD released, but if there was, nobody has uploaded it anywhere. I really don't know what's up with that, but anyway, when the crossfade was first posted, it confused most of us because nothing was explained. The first song, Half a Log, is actually a duet between Unity-chan and Ms. Kakamoto. Unity-chan, the Vocaloid, sings the first part, then Ms. Kakamoto sings the second. She's still singing in character as Unity-chan in the duet, but she did try to differentiate herself from the Vocaloid voice a tiny bit to give the song a little more depth. There are 3 songs in the crossfade, but the third song, Victory Croquet, is sung by Ms. Kakamoto and not by the Vocaloid voice bank. That leads me to the second song of the trio, which is performed by Unity-chan's Vocaloid 4 voice bank. And I know exactly what you're thinking. Who is this Ebony Beauty? Why is she standing next to Unity-chan? What is Project AKAZA? Why is this video titled Unity-chan and AKAZA? Who is AKAZA? Is she another Vocaloid? Why have you not mentioned her until now? I will answer all of those questions right now. You guys remember Miku's backstory, right? Well, I call it a backstory, but it was more her inspiration. Miku was created in a sort of dystopian future where music no longer existed, and she was able to bring music back to that future. That's why she is named the first sound of the future. Project AKAZA has a similar story, but it's slightly more fleshed out. Unfortunately, it's all in Japanese, and it reads more like NTNY's scattered thoughts or notes rather than a cohesive story, especially since the two world-building documents offer different situations for the same scenario. But I'll break it down like this. Project AKAZA refers to an alternate world where people no longer make music because creators are afraid to receive negative comments and fans no longer give feedback for fear of scaring away new creators. It's a cautionary allegory, since we already live in a world where people obsess over Facebook and Twitter likes and things like that. I've seriously seen folks on DeviantArt complain about people who leave positive comments on their creations but don't favorite them, as if that makes the feedback disingenuous or negates its value. With that kind of attitude, and with how easy it is for people to leave comments on just about anything these days, it's no wonder that many people take online criticism very personally, to the point where negative feedback will cause them to stop sharing their works. Project AKAZA represents a world where this is taken to the extreme, with a focus on musicians and vocal synthesizer users. Project AKAZA also represents a message to us here in our world, to prevent things like that from happening. It says to creators, don't be afraid of receiving criticism. Be proud of what you create, but be willing to find faults in them. You can only fix your mistakes if you know what they are. And to fans of creators, don't be afraid to give constructive and helpful criticism just because it might hurt the creator's feelings. If they're not open to criticism, there's not much you can do about that, but if they are, earnest feedback will help them improve. That theme is what Project AKAZA is all about, and I believe that is also what the song Words for AKAZA is about. On the inside of her special edition box, it actually has this theme written in English. Don't worry about people rating your song. Whether high or low, making a song that people want to rate is great. It doesn't matter what rating you get. Expressing your feelings through your own work is brilliant. Project AKAZA doesn't really have all that much to do with the character of AKAZA, however. It's focused primarily on the theme and that fictional world. According to NTNY, AKAZA is a Sanskrit word for sky, implicitly a wide-open blue sky. So the character and the theme share the name because it has a special significance to him. There's more to the actual story, with Unity-chan dying, AKAZA appearing and existing for centuries, and then Unity-chan returning to perform once more to take away people's fears of being judged and judging others. But I'll wait for NTNY to do a bit more work on world building before I try to make deeper sense of it. The story gives Unity-chan a setting in which to potentially have adventures, and it establishes the creation of the character of AKAZA as a digital idol, an artificial being. Stylistically, AKAZA is meant to be an inversion of Unity-chan. She has dark skin and bright white and pink clothes, contrasted to Unity-chan's light skin and darker colored clothes. One of AKAZA's prototype designs had white skin as well, but NTNY was tired of drawing light-skinned characters, as that is primarily what he does when designing characters for the Japanese market. Since Unity is not a Japanese company, he felt he could take a risk and design her the way he wanted to, which was to give her dark brown skin and silver hair, to give her a more foreign, exotic look. And as it turns out, this was never an issue, and it was approved immediately. It probably helped that NTNY already had a plan in mind to explain her relationship to Unity-chan. When NTNY learned that Unity Japan was considering making Unity-chan into a Vocaloid, he initially opposed the idea. He knew how big Vocaloid was, and he was worried that entering the Vocaloid ecosystem without the right preparations would cause a lot of problems. Yes, they had Unity-chan, but she was designed specifically to be a video game related character, not just in her appearance, but in her mannerisms, her marketing, her established fan base. Everything was about video games, not music. He didn't like the idea of trying to shoehorn Unity-chan into a role she was not designed for. That's why he came up with the character of AKAZA. You see, AKAZA is sort of like a reflection of Unity-chan, but rather than being a wholly separate entity like Len is to Rin, AKAZA represents Unity-chan's Vocaloid 4 voice bank. It's nothing strange like a split personality. They each represent different aspects of the character Unity-chan. Otori Kohaku and AKAZA are two parts of a whole. The Unity-chan we are familiar with represents the Unity mascot character, as voiced by Miss Kakumoto, as well as the Unity with Vocaloid voice bank that is used within the Unity engine. AKAZA represents the character's break into the Vocaloid franchise, the more artificial aspect of the character that isn't directly related to Unity. Where Kohaku is a vivacious, talkative girl, AKAZA rarely speaks. This is a point that NTNY made clear about AKAZA, that she would not speak very much and that he didn't want her to, at least not by his own hands. He was worried that by giving AKAZA a detailed backstory or a lot of things to say, he would end up establishing a canon for her character, or that he would create an easy path for fans to agree on an assumed personality for the character. He says that he's seen it happen in the Japanese Vocaloid community. Something like one person saying, "Miku is clearly an angelic, sweet teenaged girl. How dare you use her to sing that vulgar, heavy metal trash? That's not who Miku really is." And then another person saying, "Nay, I say unto thee, the one and true Miku is the world is mine diva Miku. All other Mikus are inferior." And then a third person chimes in, and then a fourth, and then people start fighting and everybody dies. That's the kind of situation that NTNY wanted to avoid for AKAZA, so he wanted her to be as blank of a slate as possible. The problem was that AKAZA was such a blank slate that she was still part of the mountain. The reason it didn't work out for AKAZA is because Unity-chan was in all of the Vocaloid voice bank's promotional material. You put a completely unknown character next to an already established, fleshed out character, and you didn't explain who the new girl was or what she was doing there. NTNY admitted that they got a lot of questions from both overseas and Japanese Vocaloid fans because AKAZA was a complete mystery. If they had instead only marketed the voice bank with the AKAZA character design and name, and they just had indicators that she was related to Unity-chan, they still would have roped in Unity-chan fans who wanted to know how they were related, and then they could have explained the whole two characters, one voice bank thing, and people would have been like, "Huh, that's kind of weird. I don't know about wow, she's cute. I'm gonna go write a song for her like right now." You know that's what would have happened. Probably. Perhaps it all would have worked out if they had simply explained AKAZA's concept clearly when she was introduced, but that didn't happen. As a result, she has basically been forgotten. That's why I waited until now to mention her. There are precisely 0 videos that acknowledge her on Nico Nico, and I can't find a single piece of fan art of her from a Japanese artist. She did receive some art from Vocaloid fans outside of Japan upon the voice bank's release, because people enjoyed her design and were intrigued by this mysterious character. PokeLover made this great MMD model for her, which is nice as Unity Japan couldn't be bothered to make any official 3D models for her. Even Pia Pro Studio seemingly forgets she exists. I know some of you are probably wondering why I bothered to spend so much time talking about AKAZA when she seems so insignificant. Maybe you're right. Maybe nothing else will ever come of her and she'll just fade away. But if that happens, I don't want anyone to be able to look back and say, "See, even Sir Vancelot glossed over her in his video." However, there is still some hope for AKAZA. While I think he could have done a lot more for her during the voice bank release, like pushed for a 3D model or given her a proper introduction, NTNY is still illustrating her. Unity-chan's site currently displays Kohaku artwork for something called Project AKAZA Phantom Knowledge. I can't find any information on what Phantom Knowledge actually is, but there is also artwork for AKAZA, as well as Kohaku's father. So it's possible we may see more of AKAZA in the future, and I'd like to see that happen. As disorganized and anemic as the plot elements are in the Project AKAZA story, they did get me interested in the character. So, I've talked about Unity-chan's mascot design and AKAZA's design, but what about Unity-chan's Vocaloid design? Well, when her voice bank was first announced, the Unite in the Sky video was shared along with it in order to introduce everyone to the character. Though that video was published a whole year prior to the Vocaloid announcement, it was many people's first time seeing it, and so quite a few people thought that her Candy Rockstar outfit would be her Vocaloid design. It's funny to read the comments from back during the announcements. The reactions to her outfit are the definition of polarized. I mean, look at it. It's gaudy, it's tacky, it's all over the place, and I really like it. I generally don't care for such revealing outfits. I sometimes wonder if they're just a ploy by Japanese designers to get girls to cosplay them, but for Unity-chan, it works. She's effervescent enough to carry it. Now, the reason I'm talking about her Candy Rockstar outfit and not her Vocaloid outfit is because I can't find anything really to say about it. The only information NTNY gave about Unity-chan's Vocaloid design is that it was created after AKAZA's design and mirrors many of its elements. And, just like with AKAZA, after the Vocaloid voice bank released, it seems Unity-chan's Vocaloid design was kind of forgotten as everyone focused on her other designs. And so it was once again up to the overseas Vocaloid fans to come to her rescue, with this lovely MMD model of Vocaloid Kohaku, recently released by J.G. Nomu. I did say a while back that there was a special edition boxed version of Unity-chan's Vocaloid release, and it was only sold at AtH. But as far as I can tell, this is the only physical release that Unity-chan has received, and strangely enough, it didn't even come with a DVD. The special edition provided the voice bank installer on a custom thumb drive. I guess it makes sense, since computer manufacturers seem hell-bent on phasing out disk drives for some dumb reason. For everyone who wasn't at AtH, we can purchase Unity-chan's Vocaloid voice bank from the Vocaloid shop for the typical single voice bank 10,800 yen price, which translates to about 96 United States dollars with February 2017 exchange rates. As an extra, the Vocaloid shop page advertises that Unity-chan has a lot of free voice clips available, like Yuzuki Yukari's X-Voice samples. But as far as I'm aware, these are not included with the voice bank download and really have nothing to do with her Vocaloid release. This refers to the free voice clips that are available from Unity-chan's website. Without buying a thing, you can just click Data Download at the top right, agree to the terms of use, and then you're free to grab a lot of cool goodies. Most of it is specific to Unity, of course, but there are free art books, songs, voice sound bites, and even a drama CD for the taking. I didn't know very much about Unity-chan before her Vocaloid announcement, and the reveal didn't explain anything. We were all kind of left to do our own research if we wanted to know more about Unity-chan and what she was. Honestly, I was expecting this video to be one of my short ones. Some Vocaloids simply don't do very well commercially, don't do well with producers, so they fizzle out. That's what happened with Unity-chan. Because of her voice's strong similarities to Rana, and possibly because of the confusion surrounding the role of the AKAZA character, there are very few songs for Unity-chan out there, and just a small handful of people who have made them. Plus, it's not like Unity-chan was the most recognizable character to begin with. While she was and continues to be popular among some people who work with Unity and developers of AR and VR technology, that's a very small slice of the overall geek pie, and she doesn't have very much exposure outside of Japan and Korea. And the Vocaloid SDK for Unity, while a very interesting bit of technology, again will only appeal to people who develop video games or special applications, so the potential user base is microscopic compared to something like Vocaloid. Despite being free, it seems the Vocaloid SDK program didn't do very well at all. Early on, other companies were going to work on getting their Vocaloids into the SDK as well, including AtH Software and Internet Company. AtH Software had a page up that said that all three of Yukari's V4 voice banks would be making their way to the system eventually. That page no longer exists, and since I had such a difficult time finding projects that make use of the SDK, I'm going to assume it wasn't as successful as Yamaha was hoping. But it's not like Unity Japan gave up on Unity-chan. Sometimes a Vocaloid gets released and then the company goes dark, but Unity-chan has continued to receive promotion, both as the Vocaloid and as Unity's mascot. Rana teamed up with Unity-chan in the third issue of her magazine, which was around the time Unity-chan's voice bank was originally announced. Rana looks really cute cosplaying as her, and in hindsight this artwork is quite hilarious. In the April of 2016, Unity-chan joined V4 Flower and Rana at a 2-day event called Studio Rana, where exclusive character goods and artwork were sold. On the other hand, you won't find any information about her Vocaloid voice bank on Unity-chan's site unless you go digging through the news archives. It's not mentioned on the front page, her character page, or anywhere else obvious. They could definitely be doing more to put that out there. You know, in the time I've been researching for this video, I've become really enamored with Unity-chan. Vocaloids made from pre-existing characters are always a little different. They have a history, another side to them, and I think Unity-chan is a pretty awesome mascot. When Miku was created, nobody imagined how far she would go, and I think what makes her such an important part of our culture is that she doesn't just represent stuff for you to buy. She's an inspiration. She became a symbol that encourages people to be creative and to collaborate with each other. Unity-chan is the same way. While there are Unity-chan products that are not free, a lot of it is free and really high quality. With Vocaloids, I tend to fall in love with the voice before the character, but with Unity-chan, it's been the other way around. I want to support her, and if I had more free time and more skill with Vocaloid, I'd consider picking her up, because her voice does have some nice qualities, when it's not totally making me think of Rana. If you've actually watched this entire video, then thank you. I know very few of you will do that, and I hope you've enjoyed it. This video isn't so long just because I like Unity-chan, it's because there was so much to talk about. It doesn't matter to me if a Vocaloid is successful or not when I'm writing for these videos, but typically, less popular Vocaloids give me less material to work with. I'd love to be able to make a 30 to 40 minute video on every Vocaloid release because I want to support every Vocaloid. We're just so fortunate with Unity-chan that the companies involved gave us a lot of really interesting interviews, projects, and histories to cover. I wish every Vocaloid release was like this, at least in terms of development information. But I've been talking for far too long, so let's get on with the voice bank demonstrations.
も渇きを感じてる。赤ワインはお好きですか？洒落たグラスにオリーブ添え、染まった唇からそっと囁くのは反則技。今宵飛びやめ君を閉じ込めて、嘘みたいな時、春の夜の夢の続き見よう。世界が寝てる間に境界線の向こう、彼方に見える希望。現実は寂しき想像以上に女、汗にまみれ走るな今は。時間を超えるための練習を、僕らの明日に根拠なんていらない。常識覆す可能性がここにある。野獣のようにうなるエンジン加速する回転数、ぬくもりを肌で感じて、視界の先にまだ見ぬ未来、競技新基準のゲーム、一斉のせいで最前線を行け。心の中に秘めてる僕だけの想い、言葉にしたらもうみんなと同じさ。歌をかき鳴らしても誰にも届かないと、そう思った僕を君は見つけた。重なる声、想いの先に僕らの未来があるかなんて、そんなのまだわからないけれど、ここにはある、確かにある、僕らだけの世界が、まだ誰かに伝わらないとしても、君のその想いは楽園への片道切符、強く握って離さないで。ねえ感じさせてよ、君の全てを心の手加減ないやいや。悠々とやエンドレスない、そしてもっともっと熱くなれ今。悠々とやエンドレスない感じる今が真実。永遠に解けない魔法で、誰より太く君を愛してあげる。飽きなく波動と前にして過ぎゆく日々が欲しくてだらける佳境を毎日をどこまでも嘆いている。白紙であの想いは次から次に溢れて、5月ももう終わるのにため息をついた。前髪さんにアートして、それで何が変わるのかな。見られた勇気はないけれど、今日は一つ変われる気がして、僕は小さく息を吸った。ねえ今僕の声は君に届いているのかな。あの日言えなかったこと、心の深くで叫んでる。追いかけて追いかけて追いかけて見えなくなって、追いかけて追いかけて追い the